From the roar of the crowd to the roar of the engine, this is Pit Pass.
Pit Pass is brought to you by Jake's Karts and by Buttonwood Campground. Here's your host, Ron Fox.
Thank you for joining us for what will be our final edition of Pit Pass for this racing season. Now, I've had a couple of racing stories I've wanted to bring you, and we will have them later in the show. But don't worry, we do have some highlights for you, and that's where we will pick things up with Saturday's action at Hesston Speedway. The start of the features was delayed due to extra time being needed to run in the track for suitable racing conditions. The street stocks kicked things off with the 110 of Dave Brown taking the lead from his pole starting position. Just behind him, Tim Brindle in the 45 and Ryan Sager in the blue 22 would race each other for the runner-up spot. Just one lap in, the 50 of Bill Henney gets a little too sideways in 1 and 2. The 22X of Jesse Snyder tries to check up, but spins to bring out the yellow. With 5 laps in the books, Henney has just gotten by Brindle for 3rd place. Again, as he goes into 1 and 2, he gets a little out of shape. Brindle tries to get by on the low side, but makes contact with the 50. Brindle spins, collecting the 5 of Harry Smith and 182 of Joe Boozle. A couple of laps after the restart, Henney works his way around Sager to take over 2nd place and sets his sights on Brown. Later, Sager has fallen back to 5th, leaving Kai Swanger in the 88 and the 38 of Brian Duffy to battle for 3rd. For a few laps, Henney challenges Brown for the lead. Here he has it briefly as they lap Robert Williamson, but Brown retakes the position. A restart with 4 laps to go sets up a shootout between Brown, Henney, and Duffy. However, Dave Brown led flag to pick up the win. Jesse Snyder rebounded to finish 4th, half of a car length ahead of Swanger. Next up were the hobby stocks. The red 13 of Brad McGinnis and 88 of Andy Loss made up the front row. As they enter the first turns, they are 3 and even 4 wide briefly. A few dings and bumps, but everyone continues on. Around the halfway point, we have the 13s making up the front 2 positions. That's Chad Gamble in the black 13 behind McGinnis. Carl Snare in the white 66 is nearly even with Curtis Geyer for 3rd place. In the closing laps, we have a 3-way battle for 2nd between Snare, Geyer, and Gamble, with the 66 of Snare holding on to the spot, while Geyer and Gamble drag race into turn 1. On the last lap, Snare tries to close on McGinnis by cutting it low in 3 and 4, but hits the tire barrier. McGinnis goes on to take the checkers, and Snare brings his damaged machine home in 2nd. Gamble, Geyer, and Jake Gongloff round out the top 5. Now on to the limited late model feature, where Rick Singleton in the red 99 would lead the field to the green. And like the pure stocks before them, there are 3 wide, only this time the caution comes out after a little beating and banging. On the restart of the race, the 64 of Grant Adams tries to keep pace with Singleton. He falls in the line behind the 99. Behind him, there are 3 wide again, and almost a carbon copy of the start of the race. No caution this time, though. Once things settle down, we have the 39 of Tim Smith Jr. taking 4th place away from Kyle Weiser in the 34. Smith works the low side in the turn to challenge Randy Weibel. Up front, Singleton has built a commanding lead over Adams just before a caution comes out. On the restart, Adams pushes high in the turn, allowing Weibel to take over 2nd place, with Smith not far behind in 4th. Smith would eventually get by Weibel for the runner-up position. However, Singleton would cruise to the victory. Smith held on to 2nd over Weibel, with Matt Parks in 4th and Daniel Korneman in 5th. In other events of the evening, Joe Moyer was victorious in the crate late models, and Mike Wagner took the checkers in the 305 sprints. Afterwards, track owner Dave Erickson apologized to the teams and the fans for the delay, but I must say that was one of the smoothest dirt tracks I've ever seen, and very fast. Now coming up next, an interview with legendary dirt late model driver Lynn Geisler. That and more when Pit Pass returns.